Dr. Sarah Chen pressed her face against the cold window of the space station and watched Earth burn below. The planet that had been home to humans for millions of years was now covered in thick black smoke. Orange fires spread across every continent like angry scars. The oceans had turned a sickly green color from the alien poison that the enemy had dropped from their ships. Sarah felt tears run down her cheeks, but she did not wipe them away. She had cried so much in the past 3 months that tears felt normal now. Behind her, thousands of people moved through the station corridors carrying bags and children. These were the last humans leaving Earth. After today, their homeworld would be empty of human life forever. Dr. Chen, we need you on the bridge. The voice came from the speaker above her head. Sarah took one last look at Earth and turned away. She would never see it again, and she knew it. The bridge of the Generation ship Perseverance was full of noise and activity. People worked at computers and shouted orders to each other. The ship was huge, big enough to hold 50,000 people for the long journey ahead. But 50,000 was nothing compared to the billions who had lived on Earth just 1 year ago. Captain Rodriguez saw Sarah enter and walked over to her. His face looked older than his 40 years. Like everyone else, the war had aged him quickly. "Sarah, we have a problem," he said quietly. "The hegemony fleet is moving faster than we thought. We have maybe 6 hours before they reach this system." Sarah nodded. The hegemony was what humans called the group of 12 alien species that had decided to destroy humanity. They had started by attacking human colonies on other planets. Then they had come for Earth itself. The aliens said humans were dangerous and spread too fast across the galaxy. They said humans were like a disease that needed to be stopped. "Are the other ships ready?" Sarah asked. "Hope and Defiance are loaded and ready to go. But we still have 20,000 people waiting to board." Rodriguez looked tired. "We cannot take them all." Sarah closed her eyes. This was the choice no one wanted to make. They had built 3 ships to escape Earth. Each ship could hold 50,000 people, but there were almost 200,000 people trying to escape. Simple math meant that most would die. "We take who we can," Sarah said. "The others will have to find another way." It was a lie, and they both knew it. There was no other way. The hegemony ships would destroy anyone left behind. Sarah walked to the main computer and began typing. As the head scientist on the project, she was responsible for making sure the ships had everything needed for the journey: food, water, air, and most importantly, the knowledge to rebuild human civilization somewhere else. The computer screen showed maps of the galaxy. Red dots marked places where the hegemony had destroyed human colonies. Yellow dots showed hegemony, home worlds. There were so many yellow dots compared to the few blue dots that had been human worlds. "Where are we going?" Rodriguez asked. Sarah pointed to a part of the map that was mostly empty, the Galactic Rim, far from hegemony space. "We will find planets there and hide until we are strong enough to fight back." "That could take hundreds of years, or thousands," Sarah said. "But we will survive, and we will remember what they did to us." An alarm started ringing through the ship. On the main screen, they could see the hegemony fleet approaching. The alien ships were beautiful and terrible at the same time. They looked like giant crystals floating in space, and each one was big enough to destroy a city. "All passengers, report to departure stations," Rodriguez announced over the ship's communication system. "We leave in 1 hour." Sarah watched the people moving through the corridors below. Families held each other tight. Children cried because they did not understand why they had to leave their home. Old people sat quietly, knowing they might not live to see whatever world the ships would find. She thought about her own family. Her parents had died when the aliens first attacked Earth's cities. Her brother had been killed defending the lunar colonies. Her sister had volunteered to stay behind to help load the ships, knowing she would not have a place on board. Sarah opened a new file on her computer and began to type. She called it The Record. It would be humanity's memory of what had happened. Every person killed, every world destroyed, every crime the hegemony had committed against human beings. Future generations must know, she whispered as she typed, They must know what was done to us and who did it. The ship shook as the engines started. Through the window, Sarah could see the other two ships, Hope and Defiance, beginning to move away from Earth. Below them, the planet continued to burn. Sarah finished typing and saved the file. Then she made copies and sent them to both other ships. No matter what happened, the record would survive. 30 minutes to jump, Rodriguez announced. Sarah walked back to the window. Earth looked smaller now as they moved away, but she could still see the fires and the smoke. She could still see her dead world. "This is not goodbye," she said quietly. "This is see you later." The hegemony fleet was getting closer. Their crystal ships sparkled like deadly jewels against the black of space. Soon they would finish what they had started. They would make sure no human remained in this part of the galaxy. But they were wrong about one thing. They thought they were ending the human story. Sarah knew better. They were just writing the first chapter of a much longer tale, a tale of survival, growth, and eventually, return. The 3 human ships jumped into hyperspace, just as the first hegemony weapons began to fire. Behind them, Earth burned alone in the dark. Marcus Chen floated in the zero-gravity chamber, his body perfectly still as he practiced the meditation his grandmother had taught him. He was the great-great-grandson of Dr. Sarah Chen, and like all children born on the Generation ships, he had never seen a planet or breathed real air under an open sky. The ship Perseverance had been traveling for 300 years now. Marcus was part of the 10th generation to be born in space. The original refugees were all dead, but their children and their children's children carried on the journey to nowhere. "Marcus, report to Training Bay 7, the ship's computer announced. Marcus opened his eyes and pushed off from the wall, floating toward the exit. Today was his 16th birthday, which meant today he would learn the truth about why they traveled through the dark between stars. Training Bay 7 was different from the other rooms on the ship. The walls were covered with pictures of Earth, before the burning. Green forests, blue oceans, and cities full of people. Marcus had seen these pictures before, but never in such detail. One picture showed millions of humans standing together in something called Times Square. Marcus could not imagine so many people in one place. Commander Liu was waiting for him. She was old, maybe 50, with gray hair and scars on her hands from working in the ship's factories. Like all ship commanders, she had been chosen for her intelligence and her ability to make hard choices. "Sit down, Marcus," she said. "Today you learn why we are here." Marcus sat in the only chair in the room. Commander Liu touched a control panel and the lights dimmed. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed 12 different alien species standing together. They looked proud and powerful. "These are our enemies," Commander Liu said. "They call themselves the hegemony. 300 years ago, they decided that humans were too dangerous to live. They hunted us across the galaxy. They destroyed our worlds. They killed our families." The hologram changed to show planets exploding, ships burning in space, cities turning to ash. Marcus felt sick watching it, but he could not look away. "How many died?" Marcus asked. 47,300,000,000 humans, Commander Liu said without hesitation. "We remember the exact number. We remember every world they destroyed. We remember the names of their leaders who gave the orders." Marcus stared at the hologram. "But that was 300 years ago. Those leaders are dead now." "Yes," Commander Liu said, "but their children live. Their governments still exist. The hegemony still controls the galaxy, and they still think humans are extinct." The hologram changed again. Now it showed the 3 human ships traveling through space. But something was different. The ships looked bigger and more advanced than Marcus remembered. "We have not been just running away," Commander Liu explained. "We have been preparing. Every generation has built new weapons, new ships, new technology. We have hidden colonies now on dozens of worlds at the edge of the galaxy. The hegemony thinks we are gone, but we have been growing stronger." Marcus felt something strange in his chest. It was anger, but also excitement. "When do we go back?" "Soon," Commander Liu said. "Maybe in your lifetime, maybe in your children's lifetime. But we will go back. And when we do, the galaxy will remember why they were afraid of humans in the first place. The scene shifted to show Marcus 10 years later. He was now a ship engineer, working deep in the hull of Perseverance where the new weapons were being built. The ship was no longer just a refugee vessel. Over the centuries, humans had hollowed out asteroids and built secret factories inside them. They had captured alien technology and improved it. They had created things the hegemony had never imagined. Marcus worked alongside robots that could think and learn. The artificial intelligence on the ships had grown more advanced with each generation. But unlike the aliens who feared their own machines, humans had learned to work with their artificial minds as partners. Status report, Marcus said to the AI called Mother. Weapon systems are at 95% completion, Mother replied in a voice that sounded almost human. The new gravity manipulation drives are ready for testing. The cloaking systems can now hide entire fleets from hegemony sensors. Marcus smiled. His grandmother Sarah had been right. Humans were survivors. But they were also something else. They were learners. Every alien technology they found, they made better. Every weapon used against them, they learned to use better. In another part of the ship, children sat in classrooms learning mathematics, science, and history. But they also learned other things. They learned the names of every hegemony world. They learned the faces of alien leaders. They learned to think not as individuals, but as part of a larger human family that stretched across dozens of hidden worlds. Dr. Elena Vasquez taught the advanced combat class. She was 40 years old and had never fought in a real battle. But she had trained for war her entire life, as had her parents and grandparents before her. Combat is not about anger, she told her students. Anger makes you stupid. Combat is about precision. When we return to fight the hegemony, we will not be angry refugees. We will be surgical instruments of justice. The students nodded. They had heard this lesson many times. Humans had learned patience during their long exile. They had learned to plan not in years, but in centuries. On the bridge of Perseverance, Captain Torres looked at reports from the other hidden human worlds. Humanity now lived on 47 planets and moons, scattered across the galaxy's edge. Each world specialized in something different. Some grew food, some built ships, some created new weapons, some trained soldiers, but all of them remembered. The population had grown from the original 150,000 refugees to over 2 million humans. They lived in secret, building strength while the hegemony celebrated their victory over an enemy they thought was dead. How much longer? Captain Torres asked Mother. Analysis suggests optimal return time in 37 years. Mother replied. By then, our technological advantage will be overwhelming. The hegemony will not understand what they face until it is too late. Captain Torres nodded. 37 more years of hiding. 37 more years of preparation. Then humanity would remind the galaxy why they had been feared in the first place. In the deepest part of the ship, Marcus finished his work on the new weapon systems. These were not the crude nuclear weapons of old Earth. These were devices that could bend space and time, that could reach across light years to strike targets, that could turn planets into gardens or wastelands with equal ease. Marcus thought about his children, who would grow up to see the return. They would be the generation that brought justice to the hegemony. They would be the ones to make the aliens pay for what they had done. But first, humanity had to finish becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. Something patient, powerful, and completely united in purpose. The long dark was almost over. Commander Zexathari of the Vornathi Crystal Fleet was having a bad day. For the third time this month, his sensors had detected something at the edge of their territory that should not exist. Something fast, something advanced, and something that vanished the moment his ships tried to investigate. Zexathari was old by Vornathi standards, his crystal body showing the deep blue color that came with age and experience. He had fought in the war against the humans 3 centuries ago. He remembered when the hegemony had celebrated the final destruction of the human pest species. So why were his sensors now showing ships with human design signatures? Report, Zexathari commanded his bridge crew. The object appeared at coordinates 779 for exactly 43 seconds, his sensor officer replied. It scanned our patrol route, our ship configurations, and our weapon systems. Then it disappeared using technology we cannot identify. Zexathari studied the data on his screens. The ship design was definitely human, but it was impossible. Humans were extinct. The hegemony had made sure of that. They had destroyed every human world, hunted down every human ship, and eliminated every trace of human civilization. Could it be a ghost signal? Zexathari asked. Some kind of echo from the old war? Negative, Commander. The energy readings are fresh. This was a real ship scanning us in real time. Zexathari felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear. Not the healthy fear of battle, but the deep, cold fear of facing something unknown and potentially superior. On the other side of hegemony space, Admiral Kethmore of the Ethereal Council was dealing with similar reports. The Ethereals were beings of pure energy who lived in specially built containment suits. They prided themselves on being the most intelligent species in the galaxy. But intelligence meant nothing if the data made no sense. Show me the recordings. Again, Kethmore commanded. The hologram displayed security footage from a dozen different hegemony worlds. In each case, ships had appeared just long enough to scan critical installations. Military bases, government buildings, population centers. The ships were different sizes and shapes, but they all shared the same impossible technology. They could appear and disappear at will. They could scan through the most advanced hegemony shields. And worst of all, they looked human. Analysis confirms the design patterns match old human technology, Kethmore's science officer reported. But these ships show advancement far beyond anything humans possessed before their extinction. Kethmore floated in his energy suit, processing the implications. If humans had somehow survived, if they had spent 3 centuries developing new technology while hiding from the hegemony, then the balance of power in the galaxy might have shifted dramatically. Contact the other council members, Kethmore ordered. Emergency session, full security protocols. Meanwhile, Captain Lisa Santos watched from the bridge of her scout ship as her crew finished scanning another hegemony world. The ship was called Ghostwalker, and it lived up to its name. Using technology developed over centuries of hiding, it could bend light and energy around itself, becoming effectively invisible to conventional sensors. Lisa was the great-granddaughter of Admiral Maria Santos Chen, one of the architects of humanity's long-term survival plan. Like all humans of her generation, Lisa had trained her entire life for this mission. Not to fight, not yet, but to watch and learn and prepare. Scan complete, her navigator announced. We now have detailed maps of their orbital defenses, ship movements, and communication networks. Lisa nodded. Mark this world as cataloged. Set course for the next target. This was the work humans had been doing for 5 years now. Slowly, carefully, they were mapping every aspect of hegemony civilization. Every world, every ship, every leader. When the time came to act, humans would know their enemies better than the enemies knew themselves. But the hegemony was finally starting to notice. On the hegemony capital world of Nexus Prime, the Council of 12 met in emergency session. Representatives from all the major alien species sat around a circular table, their different forms creating a strange collection of crystals, energy beings, insectoids, and other exotic life forms. The evidence is undeniable, announced Counselor Vash of the Reptilian Federation. The extinct humans have somehow returned, and they possess technology superior to our own. Impossible, hissed Counselor Hivemind 7 of the Insectoid Collective. We destroyed them completely. Every world, every ship, every individual. Perhaps we missed some, suggested Counselor Deep Current of the Aquatic Alliance. A few refugees who escaped to the galactic rim and spent centuries building strength. The debate continued for hours. Some council members refused to believe humans could have survived. Others argued they should have been more thorough in the original extermination. A few suggested trying to negotiate with the mysterious ships. But Their arguments were interrupted when every screen in the council chamber activated simultaneously. The hegemony's most secure facility, protected by layers of encryption and security protocols, had been penetrated as easily as opening a door. A human face appeared on the screens. It was a woman with dark skin and serious eyes. She looked directly at the camera as if she could see each council member personally. "Greetings, Hegemony Council," the woman said in perfect hegemony standard language. "My name is Admiral Maria Santos Chen of the Human Commonwealth. I believe you thought my species was extinct." The council chamber fell completely silent. Even the constant background hum of machinery seemed to stop. "We have been watching you," Admiral Santos Chen continued. "We have been learning about you. We have been preparing for this moment for 347 years. We know where you live, we know how you think. We know your weaknesses." Councillor Vash tried to activate the chamber's security systems, but nothing responded. The human transmission had somehow taken complete control of their technology. "You destroyed our worlds," the Admiral said. "You murdered 47,300,000,000 of our people. You celebrated our extinction. You thought you had won." The image on the screen changed. Now it showed a massive fleet of human ships, sleek and deadly, hanging in space near the edge of hegemony territory. There were hundreds of them, each one larger and more advanced than anything the hegemony possessed. "We are no longer the desperate refugees you hunted 3 centuries ago," Admiral Santos Chen said. "We are something new, something you created by trying to destroy us. We are humanity perfected by survival, sharpened by loss, and united by memory." The fleet images faded, replaced by scrolling text. Names, billions and billions of names. "These are the names of our dead," the Admiral explained. "Every human killed by your species. We have remembered them all, and now we return to collect what you owe us." The names continued scrolling. Human names from dozens of worlds, filling the screens for minutes that felt like hours. The council members watched in growing horror as the true scale of their ancient crime was displayed before them. "You have 72 hours to prepare your defenses," Admiral Santos Chen said as the names finally stopped scrolling. "We offer you the same mercy you showed us none." The transmission ended. The screens went dark. The council chamber remained silent. Finally, Councillor Vash spoke in a whisper. "Contact all fleets, emergency battle stations. The humans have come home." But deep in their crystal hearts they all knew the truth. After 3 centuries of believing they had won, the hegemony was about to discover what happened when you tried to exterminate humanity, and they were going to learn that humans had very long memories. Admiral Maria Santos Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching as the hegemony fleet tried desperately to respond to the human ultimatum. 72 hours had passed since her transmission, and the aliens had used every second to prepare their defenses. It would not be enough. "Status report," Maria commanded. "All human fleets are in position," her tactical officer replied. 200 ships surrounding each major hegemony world. Cloaking systems active. They still cannot see us. Maria nodded. The humans could have attacked immediately and destroyed the hegemony in hours. But that would have been too quick, too merciful. The aliens needed to understand what they had created when they tried to exterminate humanity. "Begin Phase 1, Maria ordered. Demonstration of capability. Across the galaxy, human ships began their work, but they did not fire weapons or drop bombs. Instead, they did something much more frightening. They showed the hegemony exactly how helpless they had become. On the Vornathi homeworld, Commander Zexthari watched in horror as every piece of technology in his city simply stopped working. Ships fell from the sky and landed safely in designated areas. Weapon systems shut down. Communication networks went silent. Even the lights in buildings turned off, except for emergency lighting that somehow still functioned. But nobody was hurt. The human ships had disabled everything without harming a single Vornathi citizen. The message was clear. We could kill. You all right now, but we choose not to. Similar scenes played out across 12 hegemony worlds. The aliens found themselves completely cut off from their technology, sitting in darkness while human ships hung overhead like patient vultures. Admiral Kethmore of the Ethereals tried to rally his fleet, but discovered that his ships could not move. Their engines were locked, their weapons were offline, and their computers displayed a simple message in every language. Courtesy of the human commonwealth, your survival is conditional. The Hegemony Council met an emergency session, but they had to meet in a room lit by candles because the humans had shut down their power grid. Counselor Vash looked around the table at his fellow leaders and saw fear in every alien face. How did they do this? Whispered Counselor Deep Current. Our technology is supposed to be unhackable. They have had 3 centuries to study our systems, Vash replied. Every piece of technology we use was developed after we destroyed their worlds. They have watched us build everything, and they know exactly how to take it apart. The truth was even worse than Vash imagined. Humans had not just studied hegemony technology, they had helped design it. For 3 centuries, human agents had been secretly infiltrating alien research projects, subtly influencing the development of new systems and building hidden control mechanisms into everything the hegemony created. Every computer, every ship, every weapon system in hegemony space had been compromised from the beginning. The aliens had built their entire civilization on technology that humans could control at will. On the bridge of her flagship, Maria received reports from human commanders across the galaxy. Phase 1 was complete. The hegemony was helpless. Their fleets grounded, their worlds defenseless. Now came the harder part. Open a channel to all hegemony worlds, Maria commanded. Her image appeared on every functional screen in alien space. Behind her, the council chamber of the human commonwealth was visible. Hundreds of human representatives sat in neat rows, all of them watching the alien worlds with cold, patient eyes. People of the hegemony, Maria began. You now understand that your leaders lied to you. They told you that humans were extinct. They told you that your technology was superior. They told you that you were safe. The camera focused on Maria's face. She looked older than her 60 years, her hair gray and her eyes hard with the weight of command. But when she spoke, her voice was calm and measured. We could destroy every one of your worlds right now, she continued. We have weapons that could turn your planets into ash in minutes. We have the power to end your species as completely as you tried to end ours. But we are not you. The image changed to show recordings from 3 centuries ago. Hegemony leaders celebrating the destruction of human worlds. Alien crowds cheering as human ships burned. Council members making speeches about the final extinction of the human pest. These are your leaders, Maria said as the recordings played. These are the people who decided that 47 billion humans should die. Some of them are dead now, but their successors still rule you. Their children still make your laws. Their legacy still guides your government. The recording showed Counselor Vash as a young Vornathi, standing before a crowd and declaring that humanity would be wiped, clean from the galaxy like a stain on crystal. They showed Admiral Kethmore's predecessor promising that no human will survive to threaten civilized species again. We have been patient, Maria said. We have been careful. We have spent 3 centuries becoming something you cannot fight, cannot escape, and cannot negotiate with. We are no longer the desperate refugees you hunted. We are justice with patience, vengeance with precision. The image changed again, showing human colonies on dozens of worlds, cities full of millions of people, fleets of advanced ships, factories that could build new technology faster than the hegemony could understand it. You tried to commit genocide, Maria said. You failed, and now you will face the consequences. But instead of announcing an attack, Maria surprised everyone with her next words. We offer you a choice your ancestors never gave us. Surrender completely, accept human oversight of your governments, and allow us to reshape your societies. Your people will live, but under human law. Your leaders will face trial for the crimes of their predecessors. Your military forces will be disbanded. Your weapons will be destroyed. Counselor Vash felt his crystal body tremble with rage and fear. And if we refuse? Maria's expression did not change. Then you will discover what humans learned during our long exile. That survival is not about being the strongest or the smartest. It is about being the most determined. And we are very, very determined. Behind her, the human council members stood as one. Hundreds of people representing millions of humans across dozens of worlds, all united in their purpose. They had been shaped by 3 centuries of exile, hardened by loss and focused by the memory of their dead. You have 24 hours to decide, Maria said. Surrender or face the same fate you tried to give us. The transmission ended, leaving the hegemony leaders sitting in darkness, surrounded by the wreckage of their powerless technology. Outside their windows, human ships waited in the darkness of space, patient, powerful, and absolutely certain of their victory. Counselor Vash looked around the table at his fellow leaders. They had spent 3 centuries believing they were the masters of the galaxy. Now they faced a choice between surrender and extinction, and they all knew what choice they would have to make. The age of hegemony rule was over. The age of human justice was about to begin. 5 years had passed since the hegemony surrendered to humanity. Admiral Maria Santos Chen stood on the observation deck of New Geneva Station, watching children play in the gardens below. Some were human children with dark hair and bright eyes. Others were young Vornathi, their crystal bodies catching the artificial sunlight. A few ethereal younglings floated in their containment suits, learning to control their energy forms. The station orbited what had once been the ethereal homeworld. Now it was called New Earth, and its atmosphere had been changed to support human life. The ethereals had been relocated to other worlds better suited to their energy-based existence. They had not been happy about the move, but they were alive. That was more mercy than they had shown humanity. Status report, Maria said to her aide, Commander Chen. He was no relation to her despite the shared name. Chen was simply a common surname among the survivors. The integration programs are proceeding ahead of schedule, Commander Chen replied, reading from his tablet. 60% of former hegemony worlds now have human colonial governments. The remaining alien populations have accepted the new citizenship requirements. Resistance activities have dropped to less than 1%. Maria nodded. The transition had been surprisingly smooth. Most aliens, once they understood that humans intended to rule rather than exterminate, had accepted their new reality. The alternative was clear enough. Those who fought against human rule simply disappeared, relocated to prison worlds where they could live out their lives in isolation. What about the war crimes trials? Maria asked. Former Counselor Vash was sentenced to life imprisonment yesterday. Admiral Kethamore's trial begins next week. We have located and charged over 3,000 former hegemony officials who participated in the human genocide. Maria walked to the window and looked down at the gardens. She could see alien children, learning human history in the schools below. They were being taught about the old war, about the billions of humans who had died, and about why humanity now ruled the galaxy. The lessons were not cruel, but they were clear. Actions had consequences. Any word from the Deep Core expeditions? Maria asked. Commander Chen consulted his tablet again. Fleet Admiral Torres reports successful contact with the remaining hegemony holdouts. 3 more species have agreed to surrender terms. Only the Crystalline Collective and the Shadow Worlds remain independent. Maria smiled slightly. The Crystalline Collective and the Shadow Worlds were the farthest alien territories at the very center of the galaxy. They had refused all human demands for surrender, believing their distance would protect them. They were wrong. How long until our fleets reach them? 18 months for the Collective, 2 years for the Shadow Worlds. Maria had mixed feelings about those final campaigns. Part of her wanted to see every alien species that had participated in the genocide brought to justice. But another part of her was tired of war, even the one-sided conflict that humanity now waged across the galaxy. The truth was that the war had been over before it began. 3 centuries of preparation had given humanity advantages that no alien species could match. Human ships were faster, stronger, and more advanced. Human weapons could strike across impossible distances. Most importantly, human society had learned to function as a single, unified organism, dedicated to survival and expansion. The aliens had never learned that lesson. Even now, The remaining hegemony species spent more time fighting each other than resisting human rule. Dr. Kayla then entered the observation deck, moving slowly on her insectoid legs. She was one of the few aliens who had been granted full citizenship in the human commonwealth. During the Old War, she had spoken against the genocide of humans. For that act of conscience, she had been imprisoned by her own people. When humans returned, they had freed her and given her a place in the new government. Admiral Santos Chen, Calithan said in her clicking voice. The council is ready for your address. Maria followed the insectoid down the corridor to the main assembly hall. The Human Commonwealth Council was larger now than it had been during the war. Representatives from 47 human worlds sat alongside carefully selected aliens who had proven their loyalty to the new order. Maria took her place at the podium and looked out at the assembled representatives. Behind them, huge windows showed the fleet of human ships that orbited New Earth. Thousands of vessels, each one more powerful than entire alien fleets from the old days. My fellow citizens, Maria began. Today marks the 5th anniversary of the hegemony surrender. 5 years ago, we achieved justice for the 47 billion humans who died in the genocide. Today, we must decide what kind of galaxy we want to build. The assembly listened in respectful silence. Maria had led humanity through its return to power, and her words carried enormous weight. Some of you believe we should continue expanding until every alien species is under human control, Maria continued. Others think we should focus on developing the worlds we already govern. Both views have merit. She paused, looking directly at the alien representatives in the assembly. But I propose a third path. We have proven that humanity cannot be destroyed. We have shown that justice, however delayed, will always come. The galaxy knows that we remember our debts and we collect what is owed to us. Maria activated a hologram that showed the current state of the galaxy. Human-controlled space now covered 60% of all inhabited systems. The remaining aliens were either allies, subjects, or scattered refugees hiding in the outer darkness. We could conquer the rest, Maria said. We have the power to do it. But conquest was never our goal. Our goal was survival, justice, and the guarantee that what happened to us will never happen to anyone else. She looked out at the assembly, her eyes finding both human and alien faces. Therefore, I propose that we establish the Commonwealth as the permanent government of this galaxy. All species will have representation, but humans will maintain final authority. All worlds will follow human law, but local customs will be respected where they do not conflict with our principles. The proposal was not surprising. Most representatives had expected something like this. What surprised them was Maria's next statement. And I propose that we begin preparing for expansion beyond this galaxy. There are other galaxies out there, other species who might threaten us or others as the hegemony once did. Humanity must be ready. The assembly erupted in excited conversation. The idea of expanding beyond their home galaxy was ambitious beyond anything they had imagined. Maria raised her hand for silence. We learned during our exile that survival requires constant growth, constant preparation, and constant vigilance. We will never again allow ourselves to be weak enough for anyone to threaten us. As the assembly voted to approve her proposals, Maria returned to the observation deck. The children were still playing in the gardens below, human and alien children learning together, growing up in a galaxy where humanity's dominance was simply a fact of life. Commander Chen joined her at the window. Do you think they will ever forgive us? Maria considered the question. Forgiveness is not what matters. Understanding is what matters. They need to understand that actions have consequences, that genocide has a price, that humanity remembers everything. She watched a young Vornathi child trying to teach a human boy how to refract light through crystal formations. The human boy was patient and careful, learning the alien technique with genuine interest. Besides, Maria added, their children will grow up in our schools, learning our values, speaking our languages. In a few generations, the distinction between human and alien will matter less than the distinction between citizen and outsider. As the artificial sun set over New Earth, Maria thought about her ancestor, Dr. Sarah Chen, who had fled the burning Earth 5 centuries ago. Sarah had promised that humanity would survive and remember. She had kept that promise. Now it was Maria's turn to make a promise to the future. Humanity would never again be helpless, they would never again be refugees, and they would never again allow anyone to threaten the innocent, whether human or alien. The galaxy belonged to humanity now, and humanity intended to keep it that way forever.